All of this leads me to think that EverQuest 3 was or is a different game from EverQuest Legends. But, and there's a big but, is EverQuest Legends, which will be launching this year, the long-reported EverQuest 3? That's a question I've seen a lot. It's an assumption I've seen a lot, and it's one I found myself asking. And the short answer to that question is, well, no, it's not, for a couple of reasons. That's where the long answer kind of gets in, because there's a lot of stuff here that we need to talk about. Let's start with why it's no. There's two simple reasons here. First is timing. There's no time machine, and EverQuest 3 was a thing before EverQuest Legends. EverQuest 3's first rumors popped up all the way back in 2023, with first a new job posting and then later in 2023, EG7's CEO and former Daybreak CEO confirming to investors that they have plans for EverQuest 3, an MMO, beginning investment in 2025 with a target date of 2028. Target release date of 2028, which sounds like bullshit. This slide here, this single largest piece of evidence for EverQuest 3, is what we've been looking at now for years. It's what they wanted EverQuest 3 to be back in 2023. Then in 2024, we got the min-max interview with Jen Chen and Kevin Liddy, which confirmed Daybreak is wanting to keep going, wanting to make an EverQuest 3. Again, if you're keeping track, this is all before any semblance of EverQuest Legends came about. There's also this comment from Jen Chen in the min-max interview.
Will there ever be an EverQuest 3?
I hope so. We're working on a new EverQuest game.
Oh, really? Cool.
We're working on a new EverQuest game. I don't know if it's going to be called EverQuest 3.
Why wouldn't it? Who's saying no to that?
EverQuest 2 was kind of a curse to EverQuest 1 because we thought that everyone would leave EverQuest 1 and go to EverQuest 2.
Right.
They didn't.
In theory, would you want to like jump hundreds of years in the future again?
Right now, I'm thinking no. Our probably best bet is EverQuest. EverQuest 1.
A reboot type of thing?
Yeah, like a reboot where it's like our big characters are our big characters. Fippy's there, and Fernavy's there. Tracking on one of our big dragons is there.
Sounds a lot like what EverQuest Legends would eventually be, right? Except this very key part that sounds nothing like it.
Modern visually, modern in gameplay, and modern in style. But wholly EverQuest. When you look at it, you need to go, oh my god, this is Kinos. All that to say, it's still in concept.
Of course.
A lot of things can change between now and when we actually get to even just pre-production, where we're ramping up the team, where it's like, okay, all these things that we're going to do, let's prototype it. Let's prove it can happen. Let's
So
white
many
box
things
it.
can change. So many things.
I don't think that we'll be able to say that this is modern visuals or gameplay. Sure, it has instancing and it's all soloable, but at its core, EverQuest Legends is EverQuest 1 with some tweaks and changes to make it soloable and make it more custom. It is not a modernized version of the game, certainly not in the key places that they would talk about with a remake or a reboot. Because you see, EverQuest Legends actually isn't being made by Daybreak, not really technically. It's got a different developer behind it called GameJohn. GameJohn wasn't a thing until July of 2025, just last year, a couple years after they'd already been talking about EverQuest 3. EverQuest Legends is produced by Daybreak, but is not made by them. EverQuest Legends is a licensed title using the EverQuest IP and honestly a lot of the code by a studio that didn't exist until July of 2025 and is made up primarily of former EverQuest emulator developers. The connection to Daybreak comes from their executive producer, David Yousefi. The break here is pretty clear, like there is a clear separation between what EverQuest Legends is and who is controlling it, and what the whole idea of an EverQuest 3 would be, especially because a lot of the people that would be making EverQuest 3 have absolutely nothing to do with EverQuest Legends, like Jen Chan, who is in charge of the entire EverQuest franchise. I think the biggest difference you see here is financial. These are separated from each other. It doesn't use the same system that was being used for All Access. There is no crossover here. There's not even Chrono going into this. This is going through a different place. As we found out recently, they even have their own special kind of currency that they're going to use with their in-game shop. So this is just a separate slice that's not connected directly to Daybreak. Although Daybreak will be making money off of this because it is licensed, and yes, you have the connected executive producer there. So those are the big things that contributing to know the timing of it basically coming long after EverQuest 3 was a thing, and also the fact that it's not really connected to the main franchise. It is not connected to the head of the franchise. It's not being made by Daybreak, it's being made by GameJohn, a completely different developer. All of this leads me to think that EverQuest 3 was or is a different game from Everquest Legends, but, and there's a big but. This is actually where it gets a little complicated, and this is where I start to wonder, what if things change? What if things are changing or will change based on what Everquest Legends does or does not do? It's not unheard of to think that it's both true that EverQuest 3 was an idea to go in a different way, a full-on remake in a new engine, a different game entirely that would be developed under Daybreak. But then when this idea was dropped in their lap, an idea that wouldn't cost nearly even a fraction as much and could be done much faster and might as well make just as much money, EG7 jumped at that chance. We haven't heard anything about EverQuest 3 for a while now in their financials, and the real star for them has kind of been Palia over the last couple. And for a while, honestly, it looked like EG7 might actually even be in some financial trouble, although now it's seeming to look rosier. I don't know how true that is. We'll probably get some more information over the next couple quarters of financials. But EverQuest Legends is a very low risk, high reward gamble. The game itself is largely already made. The lore, the zones, the art, it's all done. What's happened is largely system work, making the multi-classing work, adding 2 new playable races from the existing in-game races, item combining, UI chases, and more recently, adding in more itemization to zones. And granted, later a new custom zone in Nectropos Castle. I'm not saying all of that's easy, it's certainly not. It's a shit ton of work. It's just a lot less work than making a whole new freaking game. Even thinking about some of the systems that are being used first in EverQuest Legends are actually going to be coming to EverQuest, like the personal loot system that exists in EverQuest Legends. That's something that's going to be in the next progression server for EverQuest. So it's already a system that was already being made. It's impossible not to look at EverQuest Legends possibly working against an EverQuest 3, and there's history here in the same franchise. One of the reasons, among quite a few, that EverQuest 2 didn't meet expectations was because people just didn't leave EverQuest 1. It was launched 5 years after EQ1 launched and never met the high peaks of its predecessor. And now, decades later, despite both EQ1 and EQ2 getting constant expansions and progression servers, the former EverQuest is still very clearly the golden child between the two, and that's to say nothing of EverQuest Online Adventures, which was locked to PS2 console and then didn't actually have the ability to get that kind of growth that it needed and eventually died. EverQuest Legends works as a game that appeals nostalgically to old EverQuest players, but also can bring in people who never played EverQuest because it's more accessible. You can solo. Those two audiences would be the same audiences for an EverQuest 3. Just a new EverQuest 3 with prettier graphics and more modern gameplay would be perhaps more slanted toward new players than returning players, where EverQuest Legends is the slant is kind of reversed. If EverQuest Legends is as successful as it looks like it's going to be, with 40,000 plus beta signups, I can see it either reinvigorating interest in creating an EverQuest 3 to capitalize on the IP's relevance, or being good enough that they sit back and just let it be their new game. Let it be their EverQuest 3. And I think that depends a whole lot on what that licensing agreement is and how attractive that agreement is to Daybreak. As for when we might know something about this, well, each EG7 quarter financial is a peek into what's going on behind the scenes, and it's been very, very dry in regards to EverQuest 3 for a long time now. Q2 will be out probably sometime in August, and I'm sure Legends will get a mention, but it won't include the game's launch. that's much more of a Q3 or Q4 thing, so it might be a while before we know more about how EverQuest 3 or how EG7 views the launch of EverQuest Legends and the EverQuest IP in general. Like we have since EverQuest Next was cancelled in 2016, it seems like we're still just in wait and see mode. Wait and see what's going to happen with this IP and what they're willing to do. I think it's interesting that they're willing to license out the IP, and that actually opens up a couple different avenues that they could go, where they could actually try and expand this IP in ways that they haven't before, licensing it and using that as more of a low risk, high reward type of way to expand the IP instead of just in-house making your own brand new EverQuest reboot. EverQuest Legends creates this new interesting wrinkle in the saga of what is this always waiting for EverQuest 3, which has been started and stopped a couple different time nows. Although I guess technically it's like an EverQuest 4 or 5 if you count all the other iterations that we've had since, or the attempted iterations like EverQuest Legends or Landmark. It gets weird. There was a lot of attempts here. I honestly wish I had more concrete assumptions here on what was going to be coming, but I think I'm more uncertain now than I was like maybe even 6 months ago. I was kind of feeling a certain way about the way that things were going with EverQuest 3, and I'm not really sure now. I'm not sure what's going to be next. I think that we're going to have a better idea of where the EverQuest IP sits like in roughly a year from now, once EverQuest Legends is out in the wild as like an actual launch title, and we get some more financial data coming in from Daybreak and how they view the EverQuest IP, and if it once again becomes their marquee IP that they talk about, not Palia or not DCUO or not something else, and it just becomes what they're focused on. We've already seen that EG7's willing to cancel things they've announced. They canceled the Lord of the Rings remaster, for example. So who knows where we actually go from here. In the meantime, if you are interested in EverQuest Legends and want to give that game a try, you can see my first impressions of the beta in this video right here. Spoiler, I freaking liked it, and I'm probably going to be playing it quite a bit. My name is Redbeard Flynn. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day, and I will see you all soon.